The sun blazed down upon the barren, desolate landscape. A harsh, orange glow stretched across the endless desert of an alien world. The ground cracked and dry from years of drought. High above, the sky shimmered, an eerie stillness hanging in the air. The wind whispered softly, but there was no relief from the scorching heat. It was a place where no life should survive, and yet one human struggled against the odds. The spaceship had crashed hours ago, its metal frame twisted and smoking. The pilot inside, a lone astronaut, was the only survivor of the crash. His name was Alex Carter, and now, his once proud mission had turned into a desperate fight for survival. His body ached with exhaustion, and his throat burned with thirst. The water supply in his suit had run dry long before the crash, and now he was left to wander the endless dunes, hoping for a miracle. His head spun with dizziness, and each step he took felt like a struggle. His suit, designed to protect him in hostile environments, was no use against the unrelenting heat of this alien world. The buttons on his suit flickered weakly, a sign that the damage was severe. He was stranded, cut off from communication, with no way to reach help. Every direction looked the same: dry sand, cracked earth, and the distant shimmer of heat rising from the ground. Alex's vision blurred, his feet stumbling as he fought to stay upright. He had been trained for situations like this, but nothing could have prepared him for this. The loneliness was unbearable. There was no sign of life on this planet, no help, and no hope. His mind raced as he scanned the horizon once more, willing anything to appear. But nothing did. His fingers trembled as he gripped the remains of his communication device, now useless. He had tried for hours to send a distress signal, but it was clear that nothing was going to save him from this place. His breath grew shallow as panic began to set in. He had read about the dangers of dehydration, the warning signs that his body was shutting down. His lips cracked and bled from the dryness, and his skin burned under the intense sun. His vision darkened as he staggered across the desert, hoping for a patch of shade, for something that might offer him a moment of relief. Suddenly, he collapsed, his knees hitting the sand with a thud. He gasped for air, his body weak from the heat, his muscles trembling with exhaustion. His mind was foggy now, the thirst almost unbearable. He felt the world closing in around him, the edges of his consciousness fading. It was the kind of moment when a man might accept that it was over, that death had come for him in this strange, unforgiving world. But just as he was about to give in to the darkness, something changed. A sound broke through the silence. It was faint at first, almost imperceptible, but Alex's mind clung to it. The soft, rhythmic sound of footsteps. His eyes opened slowly, struggling to focus. Was it a dream? Was his mind playing tricks on him in the heat? But no, the sound grew clearer, closer. Someone or something was coming. He tried to lift his head, but his strength was gone. He couldn't move. His breath came in ragged gasps as he waited, helpless and vulnerable. The shadow that loomed over him grew larger. His heart raced. Was it another human? A rescue team? Or had something else found him? The footsteps stopped, and Alex's eyes barely stayed open as he looked up at the figure standing over him. A soft light flickered above. Was it hope, or was it simply another mirage brought on by the heat? He couldn't tell. All he knew was that someone was here. Then the figure bent down, and Alex felt a cool sensation on his lips. It was water. He couldn't believe it. His parched throat, his dry mouth, the unbearable thirst, it was finally being quenched. His mind buzzed with disbelief as he drank, taking in the life-saving liquid that came from the mysterious figure above him. Alex closed his eyes, feeling the rush of cool water flood his body. He had no idea who or what had come to his aid, but for the first time in what felt like forever, there was hope. There was someone here, and maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't die alone on this godforsaken world. But who were they? And what did they want with him? The mystery of his savior began to take root in his mind, and as he slowly regained his strength, the questions piled up. His journey was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The human astronaut's throat felt moist again, his chest rising and falling with the relief of the cool water flowing through him. He lay on the desert floor, staring up at the figure that had come to his rescue. His vision was still blurry, but the silhouette above him was unmistakable, tall, elegant, and seemingly otherworldly. The air around him shimmered with a strange energy, the kind that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. The figure didn't speak. It simply watched him with an intensity that made Alex feel both uneasy and comforted at the same time. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. Was this a rescue mission from Earth? Had another astronaut come for him? But nothing about this seemed familiar. The figure that stood over him had an alien grace, its features both beautiful and unsettling, like something that belonged in a dream or a nightmare. As Alex slowly sat up, he took in his surroundings more clearly. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions, but in the distance, strange structures rose from the ground, tall, curved spires made of materials Alex couldn't even begin to identify. The air itself seemed to hum with energy, and the light felt different, as if he was no longer on the planet he had known. The horizon had a strange glow, an ethereal tint that made the world look surreal. This was no ordinary world. This was alien. The figure stepped back, revealing more of its form. It was taller than Alex, with glowing skin that reflected the pale light of the distant suns. Its eyes, large and dark, shone with an intelligence that was both distant and ancient. The creature's clothing was sleek and form-fitting, a metallic sheen that looked both practical and ceremonial. It was a being of great mystery, no doubt someone or something with power, beyond what Alex could comprehend. Was it a humanoid alien? Or was he in the presence of something far greater? Alex tried to speak, but his words came out hoarse. His body was still weak from the dehydration, and he could barely gather the strength to sit up fully. He swallowed, finding his voice again. Who are you?" The figure didn't respond at first. Instead, it raised its hand and extended a device that Alex hadn't noticed before, a small, glowing orb. The object hovered in the air between them, its surface shifting like liquid, swirling with colors Alex couldn't understand. It was like nothing he had ever seen on Earth, a piece of technology that felt almost magical. The alien's deep, soft voice finally broke the silence. "You are far from home, human. Your kind does not belong here." Alex's heart skipped a beat. It was the first time he had heard any being speak since his crash. The words were chilling, but there was no malice in the tone. More like curiosity, as if the alien was trying to make sense of his presence. "What do you mean? How did you find me?" Alex asked, his voice still shaky. The alien's eyes shifted slightly, and a slight hum of energy filled the air. "We have been watching. Your kind has been dying for days. We have no water. We have no hope." The alien paused, seeming to measure the weight of its own words. "Until you arrived." Alex's mind raced, trying to process what he was hearing. No water. This planet was in a drought worse than anything he could have imagined. He thought he was alone, stranded in a vast desert with no help. But the truth was far stranger than he could have guessed. These beings, the Ziri, had been waiting for anyone to offer them hope. And Alex had unknowingly become that beacon. The figure stepped closer, its presence commanding yet serene. "You have given us life," it said softly. "In return, we will give you more than you could ever have hoped for." Alex felt his strength begin to return, the last of the exhaustion lifting from his body. But there was a growing sense of unease in the pit of his stomach. Was he truly a savior to these beings? Or was there something they needed from him, something he hadn't yet realized? Before he could ask another question, the alien turned away and motioned for Alex to follow. A strange sense of trust began to bloom within him. Despite the uncertainty, Alex knew one thing: his journey on this alien world had only just begun, and the answers to the mysteries surrounding the Ziri and his own survival were just beginning to unfold. Alex followed the alien figure, his legs still shaky, but his curiosity growing stronger with each step. The Ziri, as they had called themselves, moved with an effortless grace, their bodies gliding through the sand as if they were part of the desert itself. Their path led toward the towering spires in the distance, structures that appeared both ancient and futuristic, as though they had existed for eons, yet somehow held the promise of something new. The landscape around them was surreal, alien in a way that Alex had only seen in science fiction films. The sky was tinged with a deep purple hue, as if the suns above had never set, casting a constant twilight glow. The sand beneath his feet shifted in strange, undulating patterns, almost as though it were alive. He glanced up at the towering spires again, wondering how something so magnificent could exist in such an arid wasteland. Everything felt disconnected, yet strangely harmonious, as if the desert and the structures had been waiting for him all along. As they walked, the alien figure remained silent, leading him through a vast archway formed by two colossal stone pillars that appeared to be carved from the very mountains themselves. Beyond the arch, the landscape shifted once more. The barren desert gave way to a lush, green oasis, an impossible sight on a planet that seemed to be dying from thirst. Strange, glowing plants dotted the area, their vibrant colors pulsing like the beating of a heart. Water flowed in crystal-clear streams, carving pathways through the otherwise dry land. Alex's eyes widened in disbelief. "This," Alex began, his voice trembling. "This isn't real. How can this be?" The alien glanced back at him, its eyes gleaming with a soft, knowing light. "It is not the world you know," it replied, "but it is real. Our people have hidden this from the rest of the world. For centuries, we have struggled against the drought, unable to survive. We have kept this place a secret, a sanctuary for those few who know of it." Alex could hardly believe what he was hearing. The Ziri, a species struggling for survival, had kept this oasis hidden, protecting it from the devastation around them. It was a symbol of hope, a life-giving source in a world on the brink of death. But what did it mean for him, for humanity? Why had they chosen to share their secret with him? "What do you want from me?" Alex asked, his voice low with uncertainty. The Ziri figure stopped and turned to face him, its expression unreadable. "We do not seek to harm you, human. You are not the only one in need of water. Our world is dying, and we have watched as your species struggled as well. You came to us in our darkest moment, and in doing so, you have given us something we thought we had lost forever: hope." Alex's heart began to race. The weight of the situation was becoming clearer. He had stumbled onto something far bigger than he had ever imagined. His simple act of accepting the water had sparked something in these aliens, a chain reaction that could change everything for both their species. They had offered him water, saving him from death, and in return, he had unknowingly given them the chance to rebuild their dying world. The alien stepped forward and handed Alex a small, glowing device, an orb, much like the one it had held earlier. It hummed with a strange energy, pulsing with a rhythm that was both familiar and foreign. "This is the key," the Ziri said. "With it, you will help us understand how we might survive this drought, not just for our world, but for yours as well." Alex stared at the orb in his hand, realizing that the fate of two worlds now rested on his shoulders. He had come here thinking he was stranded, lost in the void of space, but now it seemed that his actions had woven him into the fabric of something much larger. What had started as a desperate fight for survival had become a pivotal moment in the history of two species. He looked up at the Ziri, determination flooding his chest. "I'll do whatever I can to help." The alien nodded, its gaze softening. "We have all been waiting for someone like you, human. The time has come." With that, Alex knew his journey was far from over. The true adventure was just beginning. As Alex stood in the heart of the oasis, surrounded by the vibrant pulse of alien life, he couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. The Ziri, despite their mysterious nature, had welcomed him into this sacred place, a hidden world that defied everything he had known. He looked around, feeling a strange sense of peace, but beneath it was a growing unease. The Ziri were not just offering him water, they were offering him a chance to change the fate of two worlds. And with that came a responsibility he had never anticipated. The Ziri leader, whose presence was both calming and powerful, motioned for Alex to follow. They moved deeper into the oasis, where the landscape seemed even more surreal. The trees, their leaves glowing faintly, lined the edges of a massive lake, the water so clear it mirrored the stars above. Alex felt a cool breeze brush against his skin, the air fresh and rejuvenating, a sharp contrast to the oppressive heat of the desert he had just escaped. They came to a structure at the center of the oasis, an enormous stone temple adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to tell stories of the Ziri's ancient past. The temple was built into the side of a mountain, blending seamlessly with the natural surroundings. A soft hum filled the air as they approached, and Alex felt a strange vibration through his body, as if the very earth beneath him was alive. Inside the temple, The walls were lined with crystals that pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow. At the center of the chamber was a large pool, its surface reflecting the light from the crystals above. The air was thick with energy, an almost palpable presence that Alex could feel in his bones. The Ziri leader stopped in front of the pool and turned to face him. "You have brought us hope." "Human," the leader said, "but it is not enough to simply survive. We need to thrive. For centuries, we have tried to end the drought that has plagued our world. But it is not a simple task. Our people have forgotten how to nourish the land, how to bring life to the barren world we live on. You, human, may be the key to unlocking the power we need to restore balance." Alex swallowed hard. The weight of the situation was beginning to sink in. The Ziri were not just struggling for survival, they were on the brink of extinction. Their entire civilization had been shaped by drought and scarcity, and now they were turning to him for a solution. The responsibility was enormous, but Alex knew he couldn't turn away. His actions had already set things in motion, and there was no going back. The Ziri leader gestured to the pool, and as Alex stepped closer, he saw that the water was not just water, it was alive. The liquid shimmered with an iridescent glow, shifting and flowing in ways that defied physics. It was as if the water itself held the memories and knowledge of the Ziri, a living essence that could heal their world. "This is the heart of our world," the leader said softly. "The water here has the power to restore the balance, but it is fragmented. It needs the touch of someone who understands both life and death, someone who has seen the balance between them." Alex hesitated. He had no idea how he could help, but he understood one thing: the Ziri were desperate, and they had no choice but to trust him. He took a deep breath and reached out, his fingers barely touching the surface of the water. The moment he made contact, the water rippled, and a surge of energy shot through him, a powerful wave of knowledge and memories flooding his mind. He saw visions of the Ziris past their civilization thriving, then slowly withering away under the weight of the drought. He saw the ancient rituals they had tried, the sacrifices they had made, all in an attempt to save their people. And then, something changed. The vision shifted. He saw the solution, the answer they had been searching for, hidden deep within their own history, waiting for someone to uncover it. The Ziri had the power within them, but they had forgotten how to use it. Alex understood now. The key wasn't just in the water, it was in the land, in the way the Ziri had lived in harmony with their world long before the drought began. With a sudden clarity, Alex pulled his hand from the pool, gasping for breath. The knowledge was overwhelming, but it was clear. The Ziri could restore their planet, but they needed to relearn the balance between nature and technology. They needed to trust in the land and its ability to heal. Turning to the Ziri leader, Alex's voice was firm, filled with the weight of his newfound understanding. "I know how to help you," he said, "but it will take time. You will have to trust me and each other." The leader nodded slowly, a look of hope dawning in their eyes. "We will learn together." And with that, Alex knew that his journey had become something far greater than he had ever imagined. He wasn't just a stranded astronaut anymore, he was the catalyst for the future of two worlds. As Alex stood at the center of the Ziri oasis, a newfound sense of purpose filled him. The Ziri had placed their hopes in him, and now he had the knowledge to help them. But with this knowledge came a new challenge: how to communicate this ancient wisdom to a species that had nearly lost touch with its own past. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. As he looked out over the shimmering landscape, the Ziri had already begun to change. The oasis, once a secret haven, was now a symbol of hope and renewal. The plants were growing faster, the streams running clearer, as if the very land could feel the shift. Yet, despite the progress, there was still a long road ahead. The Ziri had to relearn how to coexist with their world, how to nourish it without exploiting it. It wasn't just about survival, it was about rebirth. But how could a species, so far removed from their natural balance, reconnect with it? Alex knew that the first step would be trust. Trust in the knowledge he had brought, trust in each other, and trust in the land itself. The Ziri, though resilient, were cautious. Their history had taught them to be wary, and the scars of their drought were still fresh in their minds. Despite the rapid changes they were seeing in the oasis, some Ziri were skeptical. They feared that this new hope could easily slip away, just as it had so many times before. As days passed, Alex spent countless hours with the Ziri, teaching them what he had learned from the visions of the past. He showed them how to use the water, not as a commodity to be hoarded, but as a lifeline to restore their planet. He introduced them to the concept of balance, how every drop, every plant, and every creature had a role to play. It was a lesson in patience, a lesson that would take generations to fully comprehend. But the progress was undeniable. The Ziri began to plant crops using techniques that Alex had brought from Earth, mixing their ancient wisdom with modern understanding. They learned to harvest water from the air, to store it sustainably, and to protect their precious resources. The land began to flourish in ways they hadn't thought possible. Flowers bloomed in vibrant colors, strange trees bearing fruits that had not been seen in generations. The Ziri's world was alive again, and with it came the promise of a brighter future still. Not all were convinced. A faction of the Ziri, the old guard who had long resisted change, grew uneasy. They saw the new ways as a threat to their traditions, an erosion of their culture. They believed that the land, the drought, and their struggle were part of their identity, that to change it meant losing something essential. As the debate raged within their society, Alex found himself at the heart of the conflict. He wasn't just helping the Ziri survive anymore, he was helping them redefine what it meant to be Ziri. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the oasis in a golden light, Alex met with the leader of the dissenting faction. The leader, a tall Ziri with sharp features and a weary look in his eyes, spoke in a tone filled with both frustration and fear. "You ask us to change everything we know. You ask us to forget the past, to abandon the ways that have kept us going for centuries. But what if it's a lie? What if the future you offer is a false hope?" Alex stood quietly, his mind racing. He knew the old ways had their value, but the Ziri could no longer afford to hold onto them blindly. They needed to evolve, to adapt, and to find a new path forward. But how could he make them understand that change was not a betrayal, but a necessary step toward survival? "The future I offer," Alex said slowly, "is one where you don't have to choose between your past and your future. It's about creating something new, something that honors both. If we only hold on to what we've always known, we risk losing everything. But if we trust in each other and in the land, we can build a future that is stronger, more resilient." The Ziri leader was silent for a long time, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Finally, he spoke, his voice quieter now. "Maybe you're right. Maybe we have to trust you and trust ourselves." It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. As Alex walked back to the heart of the oasis, he felt a renewed sense of hope. The Ziri were not just surviving, they were learning, adapting, and growing. And with each passing day, they came one step closer to embracing the future that he had shown them. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, Alex felt like the Ziri were ready to take the next step together. The days turned into weeks, and the oasis continued to thrive. But with the changing of the seasons came new challenges. As the Ziri's world healed, the land around them became more unpredictable. The rains, once rare, began to fall, but the balance was fragile. There were moments when the rivers swelled, flooding parts of the oasis, and moments when the sun blazed so intensely that the newly sprouted plants wilted under its heat. The Ziri had begun to learn to live with the land again, but nature's unpredictable rhythms were a constant reminder of how fragile life could be. Alex found himself becoming deeply invested in their survival, more than he had expected. He had come to this planet as a stranded astronaut, but now he was part of something much larger. He was a teacher, a guide, and a friend to the Ziri. His bond with them had grown stronger with each passing day, and he had begun to feel like he was not just a visitor, but a part of this new world. He had learned their ways, their customs, their history, and in return, they had taught him the importance of patience, of living in harmony with the world around him. One evening, as the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Alex walked alone by the edge of the oasis. The water glistened in the fading light, and the gentle rustling of leaves was the only sound that filled the air. For the first time since he had arrived, he allowed himself to feel truly at peace. The Ziri had come so far, and so had he. There was a deep sense of fulfillment within him. He had helped bring them back from the brink of destruction, and in doing so, He had found a purpose that went beyond anything he had ever known. But there was still something missing. Alex couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the Ziri's story, something he hadn't yet uncovered. The knowledge that had flowed through him when he first touched the water. There was a deeper truth, something hidden beneath the surface of their history. The Ziri had suffered for so long, but there was a darkness in their past that they hadn't fully revealed, a secret that still haunted their civilization, buried beneath layers of time and memory. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared, Alex made his way back to the Ziri's central temple. There, the leader awaited him, their expression serious, as if they had been waiting for this moment. "There's something we must discuss," the leader said, their voice heavy with an unspoken truth. Alex nodded, his heart racing with anticipation. "What is it?" "The water," the leader began. "It is not just a resource. It is a symbol of something much older, something we do not fully understand. Our ancestors believed that the water was a gift, but they also believed it held a power that could either save us or destroy us." Alex listened intently, his mind racing. Could this water, the very thing that had saved him, also hold the key to something dangerous? The leader continued. "The drought was not just a natural disaster, it was a punishment, a reckoning for something we did long ago. We have only begun to scratch the surface of the truth. And now, with the water flowing again, the balance is shifting. We fear that what was lost may be on the verge of returning." Alex stood still, trying to absorb what was being said. The Ziri's survival had always depended on the water, but now it seemed that the water was tied to a much larger mystery. The past of this civilization was far darker than he had imagined, and the future of both their worlds was now tied to unraveling that mystery. The Ziri leader's gaze locked with Alex's. "You came to help us survive, but now we may need your help to prevent something far worse than a drought." The silence between them hung heavy, the weight of their words settling in the air like the darkness that was creeping across the oasis. What was this ancient power? And what had Alex truly stepped into by helping the Ziri? The future was no longer just about survival, it was about confronting the past and preventing a disaster that could destroy everything they had worked for. The real challenge had just begun. The night was thick with tension as Alex and the Ziri stood in the shadow of their ancient temple, the weight of the leader's words heavy in the air. The water that had once saved them, that had revived their world, now seemed like a ticking time bomb. The Ziri had always believed the drought was a punishment, but they hadn't understood what they had been punished for. Alex could feel the enormity of what lay ahead. This was no longer just about helping a struggling alien species survive. It was about preventing a catastrophe, one that could wipe out everything they had worked for. The Ziri leader led him deeper into the temple, where ancient scrolls and crystalline tablets were stored, artifacts that held the wisdom of generations long past. It was here that the answers lay, but the Ziri had kept these secrets buried for too long. The water was a gift, but it was also a key, and the Ziri had unknowingly unlocked a door they were not prepared to open. The deeper they ventured into the temple, the more Alex felt a sense of unease. The air grew colder, and the walls seemed to close in on them. He could sense something dark, something ancient, pulsing beneath the surface of this seemingly peaceful world. Whatever had been hidden in the past was now resurfacing. "I don't know if we're ready for this," Alex said quietly, his voice filled with uncertainty. The Ziri leader's voice was steady, yet filled with urgency. "We must face it, or our future will be no better than our past." In that moment, Alex understood. The Ziri were not just asking for his help to survive. They were asking him to help them rewrite history, to confront a shadow that had haunted them for millennia. And Alex realized that if they were to truly change their fate, they would need to confront the truth, no matter how dangerous it might be. The real test was just beginning.